So welcome for
Looks good.
our January office hours for the full stack DR service. And along with me, like Greg and Rafael are there to answer any questions you have. So as we go along, right, please post your questions related to the service or anything related to the disaster recovery in OCI. We'll be able to answer your questions. And along with us today, we also have Biju Thomas, who's from Data Intensity. So he's the SVP for digital transformation. And he's also part of the Oracle ACE community as Oracle ACE director. So after I've done the presentation, right, I will let him to introduce himself while he present their success story of using full stack DR for their customer. Right? So with that, let's get started. So what we generally started doing is for the last 3 months, we are hosting this office hours. So during the session, right, we host the poll so that we want to understand what our customers and our field team want to understand, what to learn from us, right? So in last month's office hours, we got feedback if folks would like to understand more about the readiness, especially the prereqs, how important it is required to configure the necessary IAM policies, dynamic groups, and the run command. So I'll spend maybe 15-20 minutes to cover that. This is really important because most of the issues which you get once you start using the full stack DR service, right? If you sort this upfront and configure all the required policies and then the dynamic groups and the prereq for the run command, you can avoid 80 to 90% of the issues which you hit while configuring the full stack DS service, right? So I'll go through at high level. Again, we have blogs and then the document in detail to cover it, but I'll try to cover the important details what you need to use while configuring these stuff. And then, as I mentioned, I will hand it over to Biju, for where they have implemented full stack DR for a bunch of their OCI customers, and he'll talk about what kind of benefits their customers are seeing after using the service, right? And then finally, we'll open up for questions. And again, like you can raise your hand if you want to talk and ask any questions related to DR, or even if you're getting started with full stack DR, right? Don't hesitate. If you have any questions related to disaster recovery or full stack DR, please ask in Q&A. If not, if you want to speak up, please raise your hand so that I can allow you to talk. Right. So with that, let's get started. Again, I don't know the audience level of full stack DR because we just started this offer 3 hours. Office hours 3 months before. Maybe I'll just spend a couple of minutes about the service itself, right? For the folks who are uh, uh, seeing the full stack DR for the first time. So what this service does, right? So once you have your production and then the DR set up in OCI, uh, customers generally go through kind of a recovery steps by following a run book, right? So basically, they have to do the database switchover and then application startup, and eventually they'll have multiple things they have to perform in order to recover their application, right? By using the full stack DR, you can automate the entire runbook of your recovery process, right? So that's what, in short, the service does. So it's a fully managed service available in OCI, and by using this, you can easily able to create a runbook on the fly and then push a button to perform your recovery operation, right? So that's what it is mentioned. You can perform the recovery in minutes, right? So the significance of all these components I've already discussed about it multiple times, but let me spend another few seconds to talk about that. So all this mentioned components here, right? The IaaS and PaaS, leave about the roadmap stuff that is going to come up in future. But you can discover any of these services mentioned here into the full stack DR protection group. Once you have the replication configured, then after that, after you create the plans, right? Full stack DR will automatically pre-populate the recovery steps for you, right? So that's where we help you to do all the heavy lifting from a customer perspective so that you don't need to figure it out how to recover a compute VM or do a database switchover, or let's say MySQL database, and then Oracle Integration Cloud or all the Oracle database services, right? So we help you to perform the recovery steps for all these services automatically, right? So again, these are the built-in members we support, and we do it for you. But apart from that, you will also have custom steps you need to do as part of your recovery process, right? Because every customer uh, environment is unique. We understand that, right? And also your applications will be unique, right? And the way how you deploy your applications also will be unique, right? So that's where we have an option called creating a custom user-defined group. By using that, you can bring your own scripts, or you can also use OCA functions to perform your recovery process, right? So that's where you get more benefit of having additional automation along with the built-in modules we provide out of the box, right? So once you have that, then of course you start running the plan, right? So you are to do a pre-check, so that is something comes within the service. And also we have a unique uh, plan which we call a drill plan, right? As the name suggests, it's a non-intrusive plan, so you can basically spin up your entire stack in the DR region or convert your database role into a read-write mode. Like example, for Oracle database, you can convert it into a snapshot mode so that you perform your testing in the DR region, right? So we know a lot of customers want to do a DR drill every 3 months, but maybe lack of automation or they're not confident, they may not able to do that quite often, right? But with the help of automation and with this kind of plan support, right, you can easily perform those things with a push of a button, right? And then once it is ready, it is super easy to execute, right? So I will show in the demo while we go along when I perform that compute instance prereqs, right? I will show you a quick plan, how easily you can run a plan, right? Even if you don't have enough skill sets, right? All the required skills of managing the entire DR process, but having the right privilege and access, you should be able to run a plan, right? And finally, it's also easy to implement, right? Being it's a managed service, we just want you to create a protection group and start using the members. And also we provide all the built-in modules on top of it. So only customization, if something is required from an application perspective, you just need to bring in that along with the built-in modules, right? So that's a quick, I would say a few minutes of what the service is so that for the folks who are joining for the first time about Full Stack DR, right, you get a quick glimpse of what the service exactly we do. Okay, so coming into the topic of what I want to cover, right? So one of the essential thing which you have noted in the previous slides, right? We integrate with bunch of services, right? So things like compute, a database, and then OCI clusters, MySQL DB system, storage services, networking services, right? So for that, we need to write IAM policies and also the dynamic group so that the service can integrate with all those services behind the scene, right? So this is where having the right IAM policies and the dynamic groups essential once you start configuring or start trying to do a POC or getting onboarded with the service. So we recently uh, uh, started using the resource principle for a bunch of the new services which we started uh, enrolling to our service. So we highly recommend if you are using the standard groups and policy, that should be fine. But start configuring the resource principle so that you can take advantage of all the new features like that auto database TR and all the upcoming feature, right? We'll be using the resource principle. So what is resource principle, right? As the name suggests, it's basically uh, generally customers use user password and service, right? But with resource principle, the OCI authentication will happen without any password, right? So it basically get access to the dynamic groups, okay? And then all the policies which you mentioned will be accessed through the resource principle, right? So from a management perspective and also from a security principle, it is much easier when comparing to the standard policies and groups. So how you get started? So the first thing you want to do is create a dynamic group, right? So here, again, I've just listed out the syntax here, but you can refer the documentation for all the details. So these are the three things you need to do. The resource type, as the resource, that's the DR protection group is for the full stack DR service. And the compartment ID is where the actual protection group lies, right? So that is really important. So if you have scattered your protection groups in multiple compartments, then you have to add the various compartments here with the respective resource type, right? So that is also applicable for other resources like compute instance. And if you're planning to use OK clusters on MySQL DB, then we use uh, the 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 compute instance on the fly for that. So for that, you need to use these three resource principle. You need to allow it, right? So that is really important. So this is the first thing you have to get that added and created in your tenancy. And then once that is done, then you can create a policy to add the allow list for the specific services which we are planning to use, right? Again, these are the core services, core policies I would say, right? So you just need to create a policy and then allow dynamic groups, and then manage disaster recovery family, objects family, tag names, and read all resources, right? So these are the fundamental policy we need to have. And then on top of the members you use, right? So example, if you just plan to use compute and database services, then you can just add the required compute and database policy, right? But let's say if you are using autonomous database, OKE, storage, and things, right, then you have to add allow lists or policy for all the specific services, right? So, and then once it is done, then you're good to go, right? Again, it sounds simple, but we have seen from our existing customers or folks who are trying to do a POC, right? They miss out. They don't provide the right compartment hosted, or they might be missing one of the policies here and there, right? Eventually, it will lead to errors when they start using the service, right? So read this document for complete details. So it is super important you get this correct, so that you don't spend a lot of time troubleshooting while you create, configure, and start using the service. Okay. The second part I want to cover is run command prereqs, right? So again, this is also one of the important thing which we use behind the scenes for doing various tasks. I'll cover the details why and for what we use it. Maybe for those folks who don't know what run command is, right? So it's basically a plugin available in a compute instance by an Oracle Cloud agent, right? So in each compute instance, you have a management tab where you can file an Oracle Cloud agent. And in that, there are multiple plugins are available, in which run command plugin is one of the plugin, right? So we use this plugin to execute commands behind the scenes for various tasks, right? So this is a mandatory one if you want to use, let's say, custom scripts, if you want to use with a compute instance. But even for the built-in stuff which we do, right, which I'll talk about you have to enable this run command for various things, right? So this is what run command is about. So as I said, right, we use it for two use cases, right? One, for the built-in modules, right? So if you add a block volume or a file system, right? I mean, a volume group or a file system as a member in the protection groups, right? Then we auto-generate the built-in plan groups depending on the members you add, right? So after that, once you create the plan, the service will pre-populate the recovery steps. Like example, if you added a block volume, right, then we will create a step. If it is a moving instance, we'll create a step for launching the compute. And then while launching the compute, we also want to mount the additional block volume in case if you have used iSCSI property to use the block volume. So for that, we need to execute the iSCSI command. Right? And also similarly, if you're using non-moving instance, right? And if you use the block volume group replication, then we have to detach and attach the uh, block storage in the compute instance, right? So if you are leveraging these members and if you have a use case for that, please make sure you set up this run command prerequisite so that you don't get any errors while you run a plan or run a pre-check, right? And also file system, for file system, right? Like once the file system switchover is done, ideally you want to mount the replicated file system in the target region, right? So for that, again, behind the scenes, we use this run command to execute the scripts, right? So these are the built-in things we use run command. And we have seen a lot of customers miss that, and then eventually they rise SR, and then we have to help them out. But if you take care of this upfront, right, you can completely avoid all those issues while you're. And the second part is custom scripts, right? Example, if you want to add, let's say, a script where you want to start or stop your application or anything which you want to do as part of your additional recovery process, right? So any application related steps or any pre-checks which you want to do from a script, right? And for that, also you want to enable this run command, right? Again, for custom scripts, you can do it in a two-way. You can use either scripts or you can use functions. For function, we don't depend on any compute instance. If you're leveraging a script, then you can either use it through local script placed in a file system, or you can execute through an object storage, right? For both of these options, you have to make sure you enable this run command plugin and also the subsequent steps which I show in the next slide. Right? Again, this is super important. I highly recommend to take care of this while you start deploying the service so that you can avoid all the errors. Okay, so once you verify the run command, right, this is how it will look like in the compute instance. I'll show it in the console also, but in the compute instance management tab, right, you can see under the compute agent plugin, this plugin should be enabled and up and running, right? So you have to make sure this run command plugin is up and running so that you will not have any issues. And again, this also requires certain IAM policies, like example being where we're executing command. And then for that, you need certain IAM policies. You have to update your policy with additional privileges, right? And then the last step is since we run the script right from the compute instance, you have to provide the administrator access for the OCI run user. So it is called the username is okrun or OCI run, whatever it is called. So this user will be used for executing the scripts. If you don't provide a specific username, right, or else you can also provide a specific username, but you have to make sure you provide the administrator access. For the Oka user, right? So if you are Linux a VM, you have to follow these steps. If you are a Windows VM, you have to follow this step, right? And then finally, once you are done with that, then you can just simply test a command directly from a compute instance, right? Right. So this is the important things. I know it may sound simple, but if you get this right, I can guarantee most of the issues related to policies and the prereqs related to run command stuff can be easily avoided while performing your configuration. Let me quickly show that in the console itself so that you get what exactly I was talking about. So I have a compute instance, right? So when you navigate to the management tab, so this is the plugin I was referring, right? So this is the Oracle Cloud Agent plugin. There are multiple plugins available. So the one which is important is the run command, right? So you have to make sure this is enabled and running, right? And once you're done with the prereqs, right, whatever I showed in the slide, then you can simply test a command, right? So you can just put a simple date command and hit a create command, right? So this will take a couple of minutes, but make sure, right? I've did that a couple of hours before. You verify and make sure this gets succeeded. So if this works, then whatever compute instance which you are adding as a member, either for the built-in stuff like storage or the block storage of the file system, and for the user-defined scripts, right? Uh, if all the compute instance, you have to make sure this works. So these are the tips I want to share. Things how you can do all the prereqs upfront so that you don't get any issues related to IAM or the run command issues while you. Okay. Before I move on to Biju, Rafael, any quick questions you want to take? Or you answered already?
No, no questions on the QA now.
Okay. Okay, sure. Then I will stop sharing. Then I'll hand it over to Biju for you to take.
Thank you, Suraj. I think that somebody raised a hand there. Maybe they have a question.
Oh, okay, sure. Let me see. Ganesh, you have any questions? Maybe I will allow you to talk. Then after that, I will hand it over to Biju. You can speak up and ask a question.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So actually, we have OCI with WCC stack. That setup is there,
Mhm.
and we have like few file system also. So this full stack disaster recovery will it migrate the file system as well? Because see, the WCC is provision from the marketplace, and we have that file system provision through that marketplace. It is not a manual thing, anything. So along with block volumes and boot volumes, will this file system will also get migrated?
Yeah, so one of the thing which you want to double check is for the file system, right? Uh, you want to make sure you configure the replication for it. So is that something you have to do it outside of the marketplace image or how it is, right? So maybe
No, no.
sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I will repeat my question. So that file system got created through that marketplace. Application is there, WCC. Okay, Web Center content. Uh, so and I have shared that file system with the Windows also, Windows environment also. So it got created on the Linux environment, but Windows also I have shared. So that is the reason it is critical file system, which while doing the full stack recovery, it should also get replicated in the disaster recovery. So, but there somewhere I saw that it is said that file system will not get replicated like that. Some Oracle documentation only I have
Sure,
referred.
maybe I'll try to answer in a minute, right? Or again, if you have more details, we can talk often also. So one of the important thing you have to do is you have to set up the replication for the file system, right? So in the region A where you deploy your web center, right, then you have to make sure there is a feature in file system which is called the built-in replication. You have to do it right from region A to B. So if you do that right, then you will have a read-only file system in region B. So that basically the service will automatically do the replication for you, right? The file system service. Then
I'm
after
going to
that,
show that real quick.
yeah, please.
Yeah, okay, let me share my screen and I'll show you just really quick. I'm not going to show you how to configure it or anything like that, but I'll give you an idea of what you have to do. It's not hard. So share my screen. I just happen to be doing some work over here. Okay, so you can see my screen right now. Let's see, where was I setting that up? Oh, that was my app. Okay, this is the my app one thing. Okay, so in your primary region, this is your protection group right here, and you are going to add these members, right? So I have these file systems right here, file systems. These five file systems are mounted to these virtual machines that I have down here. All of these guys have those file systems on them. Well, not that one, but these three right here that move from one region to another, like your marketplace app, right? So pretend this is your marketplace app right there. And then these are the file systems that I need to be mounted up to those guys right there. So I add them here, right? You go here to manage members and you go add member and you pick resource type and you go file system, right? And then you give it all these properties right here, right? The file system already exists. You have already set up the exports and you have replicated it to the other region outside of full stack DR. You don't use full stack DR for that. After you've set that up, you come into full stack DR, you hit this add member thing, and you add the file systems here. Okay. Now how do you tell it what to move or to what of those file systems now that they're here? How do I tell them to mount and stuff like that? So then I go into this advanced options when I'm adding this member. See this file systems thing down here? I haven't added them. You add this export mapping. You just add it in here. Okay, so that's basic concept of what you do. You create the file system. You replicate the file system. You come into full stack DR. You add the file systems here, and then when you add the compute to the file to full stack DR, right? Then you tell it, I want these file systems that I've added here to be mounted to these directories or unmounted. That's all you do. It's pretty simple. That help?
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Yeah.
I know it's really quick, but we don't
No,
have time.
I think we had covered it. Ganesh, if you have more details, right, you can connect with us. We're happy to help you out.
Okay, so any email ID or where I should
I'll
send
put it in the
link?
chat. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Ganesh. So, Viju, one quick thing I want to do before you go. I want to run a poll so that for next month's call, right? We want to see what kind of topics we customers want to see, right? So let me quickly launch. Yes, please spend vote your option so that we know what exact details you guys want to hear from us in our next office hours. It will really help us. So I'll give 15 to 30 seconds.
Hey, Serge, I'm going to drop off. Okay.
Sure, we'll take it. Thanks. So I can see okay. So we will do that in our next office hours. Thanks. Sorry, Biju, you can go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Suraj and the fsdr team for this opportunity. So I'll quickly introduce data density, what we do, and then we go into the customer case study. I'm going to talk about two customers. So quickly about data intensity. We are a managed services provider. So data intensity, we occupy a very unique space in the market. I mean, we are big enough to cope with massive enterprise complexity, like you can see in our website and on the slides here. We manage complex environments for our customers, but we are small enough to bring real agility to high-touch service in every engagement. So we have deep expertise in Oracle, Azure, AWS. So basically, we are cloud agnostic, but we focus on Oracle workloads, Oracle technology across all the clouds. So we also migrate customers, to OCI primarily, but we migrate customers to OCI, Azure, and AWS there. So that's dataidentity.com is our website. We go to the next slide just to talk about our capabilities. So it's far beyond the MSP, like keeping the lights on. A significant part of our value is helping the customers navigate the Oracle licensing. We have Oracle license assessment, effective license position, total cost of optimization, especially that comes into picture when you're migrating from on-prem to the cloud, reviewing your contracts and license entitlement, all of that. And we focus heavily on the application layer, whether it is ERP, supply chain, HR, EPM, we provide 24/7 functional and technical support. And so we have been doing a lot of cloud migrations in the last 2 years. We have migrated many customers. In the last 18 months, we probably migrated, or 2 years, we migrated over 100 customers over to OCI. And in the initial migrations, FSDR was not in our radar. We, as Suraj mentioned and Rafael mentioned, we configured the replication. We had the that's pretty much it. We configured the replication. We had the VM also running on the DR side with the replicated volumes in a read-only mode. That's how we used to have it. Some customers, we still have it that way. We haven't migrated them to FSDR, but pretty much in the last 18 months, I would say, like all the customers we are migrating to OCI, FSDR is a default configuration. And when I say default configuration, again, the implementation differs depending on the customer and the type of application and everything. But across all customers where we have FSDR, the biggest impact we see is in the time needed or the planning needed for DR test. So almost every customer has a DR setup, right? Data guard is running for the Oracle database, storage is replicating, the mechanics are there. But the confidence wasn't there before FSDR. DR testing was an event. Mainly like it is a DR event. It was stressful for the team, for the customer to prepare for the DR test. So FSDR came in, didn't change any technology. We are still using the same technology, everything. It changed the psychology. It turned the DR testing from a high anxiety project to a routine event, right? Routine task. That's the benefit I want to drive home here, because FSDR helped our customers take the anxiety out of DR testing. So I'm going to show two configurations. Again, wanted to show you FSDR, you can have the minimum configuration, just configure FSDR, nothing else, whatever out of the box. That is one configuration. That is the first customer I'm going to talk about. The second customer is an e-business suite customer where it is end-to-end. You click the button and the application is up and running with load balancer configuration, all of that. So you can go any level. There is no need for you to automate the whole thing or anything like that. I just want to show you two extremes here. But I also have a couple of my colleagues on the line. If there are any very specific technical questions, they can jump in, unmute, and jump in here to help me out. But the first customer I'm going to talk about is the PeopleSoft customer. This is a subsea engineering and applied technology company in the offshore energy sector. This is a very sophisticated engineering firm. They had the technical able capability, but the overhead of testing was really, really hard on them. Preparing the DR test used to take when they were on premises, it used to take 8+ hours for them to manually do all the pre-check, network configuration, all of that, just to prepare for the DR test. It used to take them more than 8 hours just to prepare for the DR test. When we implemented the FSDR, this customer, again, they used to do all of this stuff. They didn't want to go 100% automation, right? They still wanted to have all this, all the control they used to have with them. So they took the minimal approach. Basically, we didn't configure, we didn't write any custom scripts for this customer. Just enabled fsdr, created the DR protection group, added the members, and that's pretty much it. Nothing else. So even with the light implementation, the FSDR, it slashed their prep time, the DR prep time after moving to OCI with the FSDR. Their 8+ hours prep time went down to like mere minutes. I mean, like in less than 30 minutes. I mean, like the prep and DR servers are ready within an hour, and they can do they can in fact do the testing in less than an hour. So even with the manual configuration, all of that. So the tool handles all the infrastructure plumbing, so the DBA can focus purely on the application logic. That's the first customer where we're going to talk about PeopleSoft. The EBS customer is a little bit interesting, right? So this customer is a leader in the music and education retail industry, music education, I think. Their challenge was, before migrating to OCI, they had no regular DR testing. I mean, they were resource constrained. The manual effort required for DR and the resources like in their VMware environment and things like that. I mean, like, so it was a little bit challenging for them. So they never did any DR testing. Right? They just know that their data is replicated, their storage is replicated, and that's pretty much it. But they were unable to do any DR testing due to resource, people, as well as technical constraints. So when we migrated to OCI, migrated this customer to OCI, they were very excited to see FSDR and the capability, and they even went beyond the basic automation. They went full scale automation, as well as they also configured like a failover and switchover, and they wanted to play with all of that stuff. So they even are ready to like switch over and run in the DR site within minutes. So that's the two examples I want to show in here. So again, the biggest impact, as I said, the zero impact validation, the drill mode. Like, basically, we can do the DR testing very, very easily. And as Suraj mentioned earlier, the operational consistency is there. I mean, the run book as a code, I would say, because I mean, like we no longer have to depend on the heroes. Like the hero culture is gone. Pretty much, I mean, we don't have to depend on a specific engineer to complete the DR work for a particular customer. It is all documented and configured in FSDR, so we are not dependent on a single engineer or a specific person. I mean, that's the thing. And the biggest advantage, I would say, in the DR testing is the infrastructure hygiene. I put in the bottom there, the third blue box. That's mainly the automation in FSDR. Once you stop the drill, once you stop the DR testing, it automatically cleans everything. Like whatever it provisioned, it cleans everything and make sure that everything is back syncing and the DR is ready, replicating all of that stuff. Right? So it's all automated. So that is another big, huge advantage I see with FSDR. So the DR testing and the cleaning up of the DR after the DR testing is I would say like major advantage for us, for our customers. When I say us, it is for our customers. So again, there is no one solution for the DR test. I mean, like it all depends on the customer requirement and their regulatory requirement and their practices. But I'd say I'd classify the DR test in like three categories at a higher level. One is the DR testing without impacting production. Basically, your production is still running. You run the DR test. I'll show in a minute like how we do that. DR test in a separate VCN, in a DR VCN, and you can do the test. I mean, so FSDR is really good in that. It brings up the services and it can do all of that. Again, the VCN isolation, private DNS. I mean, like can be can be automated, but most of the time we do that manually just to make sure that everything is isolated, tested, validated before we even start the DR test and all of that stuff, right? And there is no production impact for that thing, because if you're using Oracle database, fsdr even does the snapshot standby, and it does the storage clone and all of that stuff. So it knows all the stuff, and that's another advantage. Like, since fsdr is an Oracle product, it understands how the technology works. To me, for example, the Oracle database, how it works, MySQL HeatWave database, how it works. I mean, I don't know if HeatWave is there, but I'm saying that it is because you're Oracle. I mean, you understand the technology, how the technology works, so that you're able to automate that behind the scene for us, and especially the load balancer, storage, and all of that stuff. So, Rich.
Yeah, we do support MySQL HeatWave. In fact, our idea is to not only Oracle database, but all the platform as a services which we have in OCI. We want to provide a tighter integration, right? So that's what, if you notice in one of my slides. So we also have a managed Postgres service. Once the standby feature comes up, which is going to come up in next few months, then we will provide a tighter integration with full stack DR, right? So yeah, of course, Oracle database works seamlessly, but wherever the replication feature is available across all the services in OCI, our goal is to provide the member support as close as possible, or as many services as possible, right? So that's our goal, and we are getting to that one by one based on the request from customers, and also how customers are using those services.
Yeah, I mean, if you're taking a request, I mean, I have a request for Oracle Integration Cloud. So,
integration we support, Viju, actually. We just rolled out a couple of weeks before. I mean, last month.
Okay.
Yeah, if you are using OIC 3 today, then you should be able to add the integration cloud. Yeah.
Okay, nice. That's good to know. Okay, so moving on, the second option or second configuration some of our customers have is like they do the DR test because they want to protect the production. They really want to shut down the production system, and then they do the DR test. I mean, this is a typical. I mean, when we are on-prem, this is a typical DR test. I mean, I'm used to like 10 years back, 15 years back, that still customers do that, and they shut down production. So they block the traffic and all of that. Then they do the test. The third is not very common in our customer base. Mainly because on the DR side, many of our customers run with reduced capacity. For example, if the production database is like 16 OCPUs, they may be using like 4 OCPU for the DR side. And in the event of a DR or during the DR test, they increase the capacity and do that. Similarly for app servers also. So the switchover is not very common in our customer base. We have like 1 or 2 customers with the switchover DR that we do for them. But these are the 3 main types of DR test our customers do. Suraj, I mean, if there are any questions, because I'm not watching my screen.
Sure. I mean, I answered a question. Someone asked about whether the service available in cloud. So we did the rollout in December. So if you have, that's one of our requests from various customers because in cloud the service was not available, and also in defense cloud in US was referring. So if you have customers in those realms, right, then you are good to go to use the service.
Yeah, good. So, I mean, this is one of the slides from my Oracle AI World presentation with one of our customers. So here you can see this is what we do, like for every customer, right? I mean, we use the native replication technologies, storage replication, Oracle database. I mean, whatever the native replication available within OCI, we make use of that. I mean, that is the core replication technology. There is nothing additional we have to do for FSDR. But FSDR is configured. I mean, it is just an orchestrating in our mind. FSDR is the automation platform. It helps us to reduce the RTO, the recovery time objective. I mean, that's the biggest advantage, where the RTO is very, very low, or in minutes, we can say, or few hours, we can have the systems up and running using FSDR. And FSDR does require one-time setup. So you need to configure the services or the groups, the members, the storage, and all of that. You need to configure. There's a one-time setup involved. Again, I'll go into that one-time setup, like what it is for the PeopleSoft customer and EBS customer, the no effort and the full effort configurations. And we do FSDR we use FSDR for DR test periodically. Most customers want to do the PDR test annually, but now that they have seen the advantages and ease of doing DR test, some customers are even rethinking maybe we should do this like twice a year. Actually, a couple of our customers have come back to us and said that we need to do this twice a year because that was our original requirement from the compliance team. We couldn't do it. Now maybe we can do it. So just a high level, most customers have, we use the hub and spoke model. So there is a hub and multiple spokes. So in this customer example, you can see like this customer has 2 production VCNs, 2 non-production VCNs. These are like two applications actually. So two production applications, 2 non-prod application, multiple non-prod instances in this non-prod, and that's a hub VCN. On the DR side, also we have the DR VCN for the production equivalent production. There's a DR equivalent on the DR side in the other region, and then there also we follow the hub and spoke model. So with this hub and spoke model, it helps to isolate the DR test and all of that stuff, right? Because it's a separate VCN, we can control the traffic, the security list, and all of that. So it's a granular workload isolation. The dedicated spoke VCN have like different application streams. Like for this customer, it was like PeopleSoft HCM and PeopleSoft FSCM in two different VCNs. And these DR VCNs are pre-provisioned and peered, but they remain quiet. There is nothing really running there. Maybe in the DR VCN, we might have the database standby running there, or the load balancer backend, without configuring the backend, the load balancer may be running there. So the network separation gives us to do the sandbox advantage, right? Basically, if you don't want to bother your production workload, production users, you can do the DR testing using this, by isolating the network so that no traffic goes beyond this network, and then you can bring up the services and then do the DR testing. So I will go into we have 15 minutes. I think 15 minutes. So
yeah, we have
time here. Yeah. So I'll go quickly. Like this is a PeopleSoft customer. This is quick, and I say almost because there is a little, you still have to click a few buttons, so that's why I said almost. But it is pretty much no effort DR setup here, right? So this customer, they are running on IaaS, not database as a service. So this is infrastructure as a service with Oracle database. They have a bunch of Windows servers. They have public load balancer, private load balancer, Windows 3 servers running Windows externally, and 4 app servers for internal, and load balancer, all of that stuff. And it's a complex environment. You can see like why it was taking them 8+ hours to do a DR test when they were on-prem. So in OCI, we do native like data guard replication, even though this is IaaS, and we still do the manual data guard replication. So that is the database is replicated, and the VM storage is replicated. So we can use that replication to bring up the boot volume and storage volumes are replicated. So we can bring up the VM on the DR side anytime. And what is configured in FSDR? Very minimal configuration. All we have configured in the FSDR is the app servers, the Windows app servers, and whatever the block storage attached that app server. That's all the configuration in FSDR. It's very, very quick. You create a DR protection group and then add the servers, and the storage. And the storage also, I mean, there is multiple mount points for this Windows server, so we grouped all of them together in a block volume group. So volume group. So only all of the storage belongs to the volume group. So you just add that volume group to the FSDR configuration. So that's what we have, and you can. I'll show you a few more screens here. So you can see here in this. This is their FSCM DR group Ashburn. I mean, that's the primary. It is the role is the primary role here. Let me technically so the role is primary, and I have masked out the server names. But you can see here, it is all the compute instances running. 3 external and 4 internal compute servers. That is part of this protection group and the volume group. I mean, there are like 20 volumes mounted on across these 7 instances, but they are all part of this volume group. So we need to add only that volume group. It is all managed as a single volume. That's advantage with the volume group. So no, on the DR side, on the standby side, we only have the group created in Phoenix. There is no members. You can see, like, I mean, there is no standby database added here, no load balancers added here, nothing. So all we did is like for the FSDR DR setup, just create the protection group and then add the compute instances and volume group. That's all we did, nothing else. No automation, nothing for this customer. And you can see the DR test when they did the last DR test. This was last year in July when they did the DR test. So they start the drill. I mean, like this is mandatory. We do that for the pre-check. Again, Suraj talked about the pre-check and what is included in the pre-check at the beginning of this session. But the pre-check takes about 1.5 minutes. Then the drill, I mean, basically provisioning the VMs. There is no VM running in the DR region, just the storage replication only. So it provisioned about 7 minutes. It provisioned all the VMs and attached the storage. So the VMs are available. It is there. Then the DBAs and the infrastructure admins did their part, because again, it can be easily added to the FSDR. They just didn't do it because they want to feel that. So they have their own scripts which they ran manually and then configured the host file and whatever that is. So they ran it, and then they have like power users go using their virtual desktop to get into this network and then do the DR test. And so because they do this like every often, they know what to do, what to test. So their test takes about like 30-45 minutes, and you can see like the entire thing was completed within an hour or hour 15 minutes. Like 5:15 we started this, and 6:31 the drill is completed. So on the same date. So it's very quick. I mean, like this gives the customer the confidence that, I mean, like they can do this. I mean, when they were on-prem, I was talking to the customer manager. I mean, like he used to say like 8+ hours for preparation and another 4 hours to execute this, then another 8 hours to like clean up and then restore everything back to like where it used to be. So huge benefit for them. So even without any automation, this customer is super happy with the DR. So that's what I want to show here. And you can see here, just wanted to show you, Anand, you had the question earlier on the compute and all of that. You can see here when we do the start drill, it makes a copy of the volume group, and then it launches all of the compute and then mount all the volume groups for us. So FSDR does this automation, so we don't have to do any of this manually. This is all built in, no manual step, no custom steps, all built in within FSDR. That's what we do. And this is the cleanup part. Again, it takes only like a few minutes to do the cleanup. So in the cleanup part, you can see here the FSDR automatically stop the compute. It terminates the compute so that there is no more billing, and it removes the compute instances from the FSDR protection group, and then the volume group, which it created as a duplicate. It terminates that volume group also. Then the systems are back to operational state real quick. That's the first customer. This customer, I said earlier, this is the music industry. Again, at a high level architecture, it looks similar, but this is a little bit different. We are using a database as a PaaS service. So again, with PaaS service, I mean, we can add FSDR knows a little more about the database when it is PaaS service. It can do the switchover, failover, DR drill, snapshot standby, all of that FSDR knows behind the scene to do automatically. So all we configured is the data guard replication. And on the e-business suite application side, again, they have only two e-business suite web production node. It flex VM again, do the storage replication behind the scene. But in FSDR, we have configured the database, the load balancer, the app server, and the storage associated with this app servers. Everything is configured in FSDR. So there's a little bit involved configuration here because everything is configured through FSDR. And you can see here in the plans are a little bit different when we have this configuration and when more resources or resource types are added to FSDR. When we do a start DR plan, it creates this built-in check-in, like in a volume group compute instance. So it converts the physical standby to snapshot standby, then launch the compute VM in DR, then the custom script. I mean, we have to have the custom script because it's an e-business suite. If you know the e-business suite, and we have to update the host file, there is a context file we need to update or restore from a backup, then run autoconfig and then run the e-business suite apps. Then we update the load balancers. So you can see the built-in steps are there, but we have added user-defined steps in between so that we can automate full end-to-end automation we can have. And this automation is really easy. I mean, Suraj mentioned about it's like function, invoke a function or run a local script, or you can store the script in object storage. We typically use all the local script on the server. So you can see here the script is this is the standard location like U1 prod, Oracle prod, FSDR scripts, enable context file.sh, and like this is a target instance, and which user you should run, and enable whether the step is enabled or not. So this is the custom configuration. I mean, like most DBAs, most sysadmins have the script. I mean, like because when they are doing the DR or configuration or application cloning, they use scripts. So this is a matter of like bringing that script into FSDR so that FSDR can run the script for you in the right sequence, in the right order. That's what it is. And you can see here for this e-business suite start drill, even with all those auto config and all of that. I mean, it started November 21st, like 10:19 a.m. and finished at 10:37. So 20 minutes. The DR is configured, up and running with all the auto config and all of that, ready for the user to test, log in and test in 20 minutes, the FSDR. Again, their production system is running. This is also an isolated test where we bring up the services and do the testing. And similarly, stop drill, again, it does all the cleanup. So it uses the built-in, the user-defined script to convert the standby to physical standby. That's user defined here, but everything else we terminate all the resources we provisioned. And as I was mentioning earlier, this customer was very excited, so they even asked us to do, okay, I mean, DR testing is good, but we also want to have the plan to have the failover. If something happens here, I mean, like make everything ready, failover to Phoenix. So yeah, I mean, this will be there for every customer, but this customer wanted to have the switchover too. So this is the failover. Again, if you watch this recording, or I can share the slides. Let me see. What I was going to say is the start DR plan. So when you are doing a start DR plan, again, you see the steps. I mean, like we have a standby to snapshot standby, then launch the compute, then the custom scripts are same, then update the load balancer. But when you do the failover to Phoenix, yeah, I mean, there is nothing to stop or do anything. I mean, it's just similar to the DR test, but you fail over everything to the Phoenix region. This is pretty much similar to the the DR test that we do regularly, the failover and the DR test are similar, but the switchover is a little bit different. When you have to do the switchover, fsdr actually, in fact, shuts down the services in the primary, gracefully shut down the services. Then it does a switchover of the database. Then it launches the compute instance. Then it runs the custom scripts. Then update the load balancer, and then it also reverses the replication. This is all taken care of automatically. So huge automation in place on top of the technology available on OCI. That's the biggest advantage. And again, I would say, I think we have only 3 minutes, but if you have any questions, this is my email address and my LinkedIn. Connect with me and we can chat. But there are 3 minutes. Suraj, if there are any questions.
Yeah, sure. I've answered most of the questions here. So, thank you, Viju, so much. I know we have covered a lot of details, but a couple of things if I want to summarize, right? As Viju mentioned, this helps you to make your DR process so seamlessly. I've heard horror stories from our customers. They fear to do DR testing because they think it will not work properly and it can lead to outages. So that is something we simplify significantly. And also it reduces your RTO, which you was telling, like he had 6 to 7 VMs, right, in a production group. We have a customer in India who have 250 VMs in a production groups. And since everything recovers in parallel, right, even 250 VMs can be created in 7 to 8 minutes. So you can imagine the amount of time it ideally takes to do it in a manual way, right? So, and also one of the thing which you highlighted maybe is like, I know like a lot of customers may not have the custom scripts upfront, right? So it may take time to create that and they may not be able to do that immediately. But as Biju was highlighting, right? You can start with the built-in modules what we provide, which itself will reduce a lot of your manual steps what you're currently, right? And eventually, you want to get into a stage where you want to have a full-fledged automation of what Biju was showing in his last customer use case, right? So that are the two things I just want to highlight. So maybe we have a 1 minute more. If you have any final questions, do let me know, or else we are okay to. I want to quickly share this. So this is our product page for the folks who want to know more about the service, right? So this is a one-stop place. You can scan this QR code, or you can just do a search for full stack DR recovery. We have a lot of resources, so you can understand the various tutorials, how the pricing works, and all the commonly asked questions, right? We've created multiple questions in our FAQ. So most of the questions we know what generally comes into our mind. So we have documented that, and much more details are available, right? Like tutorials and things like YouTube videos, right? So in case you want to understand more on it, so we have a live lab. So if you want to get some hands-on of how to use the service, so that's the easiest thing you can. All right. So with that, I will quickly hand it back to our friend Roman for his closure, if he's still around. Oh, okay, he's gone. Then, so thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Biju, again. Thank you for sharing these details. It was really helpful and a lot of things to understand from our customers how they are adopting our service. So with that, we'll wind up the call. See you next month. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you.